Hi guys, welcome to our boathouse. Thanks for coming out, making the way. Hopefully you found it okay. We still working on a little bit better signage on where you turn in. And also, if you've noticed that it's a little bit chilly in here, our athletes do not agree when they start working out. So thank you so much for coming. We're really excited about the year ahead and getting into the spring season. We knew this year was going to be a challenge. The current team that was coming back from last year definitely has high aspirations for what they want to achieve this year, and that we knew that that was going to be a challenge given that we were graduating not only 11 of our top 20 strongest athletes on the team, but 4 of our top 5. So we knew that that was going to be kind of an uphill battle, and we talked a lot as the semester was ending last year and after Big 12s, which was a great year for last year, but like I said, I think the team has much higher aspirations than that. We knew it was going to take a lot of work, and seeing not only where the team, like what the hard work definitely started over this summer, seeing how some athletes came back to campus ready to go as better athletes than they left campus was really, really exciting. And then the hard work and the development that's happened over the fall through winter, I think has put us in a really good spot. We just did our first 2K erg this last Friday, and if you can think of a 2K erg, it's like on the indoor rowing machine. It's kind of like the SAT of rowing. It's a standardized test. Everyone does them in our sport. Doesn't mean everything. It's not, rowing obviously is the most important thing, but it's kind of a nice baseline. And even though we lost, like I said, the 4 of our top 5 strongest in that and 11 of our top 20, we're already about on average 2 seconds faster right now than we were end of the season last year. So we're really excited about that. Some highlights of that, like there was an athlete, she's not here today, but Alina Tasman was a walk-on athlete last year. She works, I think, 15 to 20 hours a week as a hostess up at Marlowe's, does this, literally I see her sometimes because we go there as a family, and I'll be like, oh, how are your legs feeling? She's like, not good. But yeah, she she took 20 seconds off her 2K, which was huge to see. We had another athlete, Lexi Sanchez, who's been killing it. She was a walk-on last year, had a little bit of rowing experience in high school, but came back this fall as a completely changed athlete. She raced in our 3rd 8 last year. But she's likely going to be traveling one of our top boats this year, which has been great to see. 2 other athletes of note in that regard that are here. Bella Montalvo was in our second 4 last year that traveled, but is put herself in as one of the top 8, top 10 strongest athletes on the team, which has been great. And then another one is Kate Maloney. Her development over the fall and winter has been huge. She's also someone who dropped over 20 seconds on her 2K, and she's now in the top 10. And she was also in our 3rd 8 that didn't travel much last year. So seeing how clearly, last year, there was definitely still room to grow and things to get done, but it seemed like a lot of good seeds were sowed and allowing us to have the improvements we've been having this year. So we're really excited about about the spring to come. We know the competition is going to be steep. We know every team is getting faster, getting stronger, doing everything they can to get as much speed out of the boats that they're putting together. So we're excited for the challenge, and we're ready to get started with the spring for sure. So that's it from me, but I'll take any questions from there.
Let's go ahead with questions.
Yeah, front.
What's the biggest difference you've seen in the team from last year, and how have you seen the team come together and grow as a team?
Yeah, I think just having had more time with this team was a big change, or was a big step in the right direction for me. I think last year, given being hired in the summer, going on maternity leave in November, having a newborn all through the spring, I did not get to know the team as well as I should have to help impact kind of the culture shift that we wanted to see. And I think we made really good inroads, but I think the team this year has really grabbed that by the reins and taken it upon themselves of this is how hard we want to work, this is what we want to do. And even the freshman class that came in this year, I can't say enough great things about them. They are fearless in a weird way, and maybe not fearless, but they're definitely brave. I think they helped show some of the older athletes what it is to just come in and race and want to go hard and not be worried about the result, but just go after it. And that had a really positive effect on the other older athletes who maybe are better in other areas, but to just have kind of that youth and that excitement and that let's just get after it mindset. So I think how resilient they are, how much work they're actually willing to put in. It takes a lot of work to replace and then some, go a little bit even faster, people who were just, we had 13 seniors graduate, and that's being mostly taken up by sophomores and juniors this year and a few freshmen. So the strongest athlete on our team right now is a freshman. So it's been it's been really cool to see just how much work they're willing to put in. And that's, I think, been a really big shift because how much they understand the harder you work, the faster you go. Yeah.
So you kind of touched on the fact that you lost a lot of really strong rowers from last season.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you look for when recruiting rowers to your team?
It's a great question. I think recruits often ask that as well. There's no one thing. Obviously, if it's like a kid is super tall, is really strong, has been rowing forever, coach says great things, has gone to the world championships, junior world championships, and been great. Like, yeah, I think everyone, and is a great teammate and a great person. Every coach is like, yes, please. But in reality, people are packaged in different ways. Like, we all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses, and I think the biggest thing we look for, I would imagine almost every coach says this, is like character. Because we're not looking for what someone has done in high school, because that's not what's going to help us their sophomore year in college. What's going to help us their sophomore year in college is like, what are they looking to do? What are they hungry for? Who do they want to become? What things do they value? Do they value hard work? How much do they value rowing? So like a question that we'll always ask is like, how has rowing changed you? And they have to have a good understanding of like how much this matters to them, because it's not just an extracurricular activity. This isn't just, okay, like I'm on the rowing team, check the box 20 hours a week. This is a lifestyle. I think if you ask anyone, any successful Division I collegiate athlete, it's not just the NCAA hours that are required to be good at our sports. It is like day in and day out, making good decisions outside of practice, getting your homework done in the right times, eating well, sleeping well, and that can't be just summed up in like, oh, like I'm better than the other high school juniors. But like, how hard are they working in high school to get where they are at, and how much they recognize how beneficial that is to them. Because if they're coming here with the idea of like, oh, what we can do for them, it's probably not going to work out that well. But if they're coming here and they're like, what can I do for UCF? How can I help this team? What can I do to make this team better? Like if we can have 65 athletes of that mentality, that's going to be a lot more fun. And then you're going to be on a team of other people who are also, what can I do for UCF? What can I do to make this team great? And that's what we're looking for, because we are so poised. We are so wanting to position ourselves as what we can accomplish in the future. Like you can't look back and be like, oh, like UCF, if I go there, I know I'm going to be a national champion. Like you may be some other schools, but it's like, if I go there, what could I build UCF into becoming?
So we talked about replacing rowers. Well, your conference is replacing some schools, Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Tennessee, the
Yeah.
SEC, and between Texas and Oklahoma, they won every single Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
So coming into this new season, what are your thoughts on this new conference, World Division Tulsa coming into the mix, and with all of the schools that have a conference championship in this conference history on, what can UCF do to kind of now take over the conference?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely our goal. Like, I think that's us, any of them, us, Kansas, the Kansases, Tulsa, Old Dominion, West Virginia, like everyone I think is now like, game on. Like let's, like, I think anyone in our position in the Big 12 now knows that the door is open and it's who's willing to walk through it. And I think we are doing everything we can to be that team. But competition's going to be steep. Tulsa has a great coach. Both Kansas and K-State have great coaches. So there's a lot of work ahead, and we're really excited for that opportunity. This side now. Oh, let's go. Yeah.
Coach, what impact do you expect revenue sharing to have on women's sports at UCF? And have you had any conversations with athletics about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Everything so far has been, everything so far has just been, if this happens, this is likely where things are going to go. But I know that this athletic department is very much incredibly supportive of us with the new, with how rev sharing is working, and of women's sports in general, which makes it's just really, that's really nice to be at an athletic department that is prioritizing, is not prioritizing everyone, because you can't, but like is investing in everyone. But ultimately at the end of the day, like we have to wait for that court case to get settled to actually know where things are going to lie, because there needs to be a lot of more information to come out of the NCAA before we can make a lot of decisions. That was a good question. Yeah. This side now. On the end, yeah.
I was just gonna ask, being native of California, like, are there any differences that you've noticed, as far as rowing goes from all the places you've been, compared to California to Florida or something like that?
Rowing, no. Everything else, yes. But yeah, Florida's, it's like, this state is just, it's so much fun. Like, I feel like coming from Austin for 10 years, and there's a thing, oh, like keep Austin weird is like a thing, but like I love Florida. It's just, you just never know what to expect when you're moving around here. It's great. There's such a eclectic group of people, whether it's on our team or like in the group. The rowing wise, no, I think one of the things that attracted me to UCF in the beginning was just how great of a waterway we have and a boathouse and infrastructure and how well it's supported. Much like California, we get to row all year round, which is really nice. But there hasn't been, I don't know that, there's nothing feels innately different other than, sometimes it's more humid here, which definitely matters at times. Yeah.
So in the 2023-24 season, you led the second age to the first medal behind Texas and Tennessee.
Yeah.
What were your feelings in that moment, such an accomplishment?
It was really great. It was so fun. Those athletes had worked really hard. They'd done a great job all season, and to see it come together on the day that it matters, like that's exactly what we're training for. So it wasn't a surprise, but it felt really nice to see that for them, that they got to see it through and get what they were going after. Yeah, in the back.
You spoke a good bit about the change between the end of last season and the beginning of this season with how players have been developing those boundaries working on the ED. Can you talk a little bit about the in-season growth that you're looking to see between now and then?
Yeah, I think we've spent a lot of time, I don't know if this will translate, but we've spent a lot of time at lower stroke rates throughout the fall and the winter. We'll stay mostly at 20, 22, 24 strokes a minute. We raced roughly between 35 and 40 strokes a minute, so almost double at times. So as we bring up the rate, we're trying to maintain a lot of the technical changes, the way we move the boat, the rhythm that we set, just going harder. And that can be challenging because, I don't know, if you like watch a little kid that's like walking versus running, sometimes things can get a little bit crazy. So the biggest thing, we've set a really good, like we can do the low rates, and we're doing the low rates better than we've ever done them, and that's been really great to see. So now we're positioning, okay, gradually building up the rate to make sure that like the improvements that we've seen all year translate to actual racing. And that can sometimes be some of the hardest parts of this time of year, is like how to get the work from the fall and the winter into the spring and especially onto race day. There are a lot of teams, there are a lot of people out there that really love training, but at the end of the day, it's a race, and we are trying to get our bell ball ahead, and handling the pressure and the anxiety and the uncertainty that comes with all of that can be very different than 20 strokes a minute, just going hard. And yes, it matters, but race day is really far away still. So getting them prepared so that the 1x2K on race day against whoever it may be, they're ready to do their thing the best that they can do it, and it's going to be great. Yeah. Oh, I was supposed to switch sides, but we'll go with it.
So I see that you have a lot of different athletes from different backgrounds, especially different locations like Australia and Denmark and a bunch of different unique locations.
Yeah.
How do you feel that their unique experiences, especially on the side of Europe, how are they bringing like new ideas or maybe new training tactics or a different type of grit that you feel that they're bringing to UCF?
Yeah, I think it's so much fun to recruit athletes from around the world because of their different backgrounds and viewpoints. We have some athletes that, they trained in groups of 5 to 10 women, or sometimes it was 3 or 4 girls and 10 boys on their team. And so then coming to a group where they're on a team of 50, 60 women, to them can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming, where they're like not getting maybe the individual coaching they were used to. But at other times, they have a team the whole time right there with them, going through it all with them, and they're not as by themselves. So they can bring a level of maturity that sometimes when you come from a high school team that had 30, 40 people and everyone's there and hanging out a little bit, versus the athletes that, no, I chose to do this in high school. This was not an easy decision. None of my other friends were doing this, but I chose to do it. And that seriousness, that commitment to the sport at an earlier age can help the other athletes who didn't have the chance to have that experience, can help bring them up. And then it's also just fun. It's also fun. You get a lot of different racing styles, a lot of different, levels of confidence that just come from I won this championship in New Zealand. I won this championship in Australia. And then they all have to come here and be like, okay, now how do we do it together? And it's just really fun. This side, yeah.
given the success of last season, what can you expect from this team, and what boats are you currently seeing having the most promise going into the spring season?
That's great. We've separated into boats a handful of times. But in general, like we very much focus on like the first 8 should be the fastest boat, then the second 8, then the first 4, second 4, then the third 8, and then we do have a spare 4 that gets to race at Big 12s as well, but doesn't get points. I think in general, our biggest focus is the team, like moving everyone forward, because ultimately it's going to take all of us to win a Big 12 championship. There are certain athletes that I generally coach the first 2 8s. Martin, or my assistant coach, coaches the 4s, and then another assistant coach coaches the third 8 and what usually make up the fourth 8. So there's no one like, oh, this athlete or this boat is more important, other than like the first 8 is the most important boat because that is what's going to earn us the most points. In terms of most promise, like I said, right now we're in the middle of like starting to get selection stuff figured out, and a lot of people have put their name in the ring, name in the hat in the ring. What is that? Hat in the ring. Okay. One of those things. A lot of people put their hat in the ring through whether it's on the erg, through boat moving, through results on the water. So that's been really fun to see, and it's definitely going to make my job a little bit harder at times, because if they're all doing similar things, we have to figure out, okay, what 8 make the fastest boat. But I think that's also where people who really love racing, have a commitment to like going as hard as they can, will start to separate out from those that are still learning how to do that. And that takes a maturity and that commitment to making boats go as fast as they can all the time, not just on certain days. Yeah, mind.
So during your first season, the team earned recognition from the CRCA for 7 consecutive weeks. What was that like, knowing that your team had gotten consistent recognition during that span?
Are you referring to like boat of the week? What are we?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, on the coaches poll. That's what you're talking about. On the coaches poll. Yeah. I mean, that was great. I think it was really good for us to see that, like, okay, people think that we're in the mix. It's going to be more important this year, though, for us to put ourselves in the mix and make it not someone's opinion, but make it clear with the results that we have, which last year I think we did at times, but we just need to make a stronger case for ourselves to be nationally ranked.
One of the biggest UCF sports stories of last season was, of course, in Paris, when 2 UCF rowers, Julie Polston, Victoria's computer rowing in Paris. Victoria, of course, got the bronze medal. She was here
Yeah.
recently and talking to the team. Just what was it like for you to watch her do that? I didn't coach her, but what was it like to kind of watch her do that, and how big deal is it for this program, and what did she kind of bring when she was here at the national position to have on this year's team and this program now that she's competitions?
Yeah, I think it meant a lot, one, that she wanted to come back and share her medal with us and share her story with us. I think that that mattered a lot to me as a coach that came into this program and inherited it. And even though she was coached by a different coach and had a different experience here, the fact that this still mattered to her and was a part of her story, and she feels like it was a part of her story so much that she wanted to come back, I think matters a lot. I think it shows that there is a sense of a commitment, attachment to UCF long after you graduate. And then having her come talk to the team, it was great. Everything she said was so. Sometimes as a coach, you want your athletes to hear what you're saying, but you like at a certain point, it's kind of like when your parents are trying to tell you something, they're like, yeah, I got it. And then someone else comes in and says something, and they're like, wow. So it was really nice to have an Olympian come in and say so many things that, and I hadn't met her before, and we didn't talk it up much before. So I was like, okay, like she'll talk, and then the athletes will ask questions, and it made it very clear why she was so. Why she did so well at the Olympics, because for every question she got, the answers just made it was clear that she is a high-level athlete and trains really, really well. She's incredibly mature. She was incredibly just helpful with all of the different questions she got asked, and for them to see that it really it's not that different. It just takes more of the same. Like so much of like getting to where you want to go, it's like getting better at the basics, getting better at the boring things, just making small improvements slowly, but surely you will eventually be successful if you don't give up. And then her being also one of the smaller, like she's not that tall. She's like maybe 5'7". And rowers are generally more 5'11", 6 feet tall. So to have her come in with a bronze medal around her neck for our shorter athletes to also see that, like, don't count yourself out. It's entirely possible to achieve what you want. You are going to have to work harder, or not, probably harder than some of the taller athletes, but, and there are going to be a lot of people who are telling you that you can't do this. And she clearly never listened to any of those people, and she just worked harder. But it was great to hear her talk so much about mindset and mind frame and like all the things that she did to help put herself in the best mental state going into the Olympics. Because some of it is not just the physical. It is like, how do you see yourself? How do you prepare mentally? And how do you go? And yeah, like kind of just, she talked a lot about like the positive mindset. Like it's no longer, oh, that's so much to do. It's like, oh, great, that's an accomplishment. Like, or I can do that. And that can just change you from thinking you're so far off from a medal at the Olympics to like getting yourself into the medals, which is great.
Hi, Coach. So how important is chemistry in this sport, and how does having a strong bond between the members of this team make a difference in that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We talk a lot about this on our team and the difference between friendship and teammateship. I think it's hard because my team will famously make fun of me because one of the first few things I said to them is like, we're not a family. Because I think of what we have is different, but it's special in its own right, but it's different. It is a teammate. We are all committing to this. We are all part of this. We're not born into it. We can't just, if we leave it, we leave it, right? If you leave your family, that's a really big deal. But if someone doesn't want to row anymore, then they shouldn't be on the rowing team. And that's like, there's a level of commitment to the team to be on the team. They are going to they all have friends on the team. They're all very close with each other. But they also, I think, are learning that they don't need to be best friends with every single person on the team, but they need to be really good teammates with every person on the team. And a lot of that comes from trust. And we're I think, the only team sport that will cross a finish line and have no individual stats. Like, you won't know. There are 9 people cross the finish line. You get 1 time for the 9 of you. You get 1 placement for the 9 of you. And you don't know who did what. So if you don't go into that with full trust in the work that you've seen from people day in out, the care, so whether or not you would maybe go get coffee with this person or want to, hang out or do a beach trip with them, like we're not looking for that kind of relationship. We're looking for the relationship of like, I know she's going to the ends of the earth for me right now, and I'm going to do that for her. So I think it's incredibly important, but it comes from seeing each other do a lot of work. It doesn't just come from, I don't know, like trust falls and singing Kumbaya. Like it takes so many months to build that trust, so that when it's time to go, when it's really scary, when you're 2-3 seats down and you're feeling the lactic acid like pulsating through your being and everything in your soul is telling you to stop, you're like, no way am I giving up, because I know everyone in this boat is going right now. So I think it's incredibly important, but it is something that has to be built throughout the year. And there's a saying, I think it's like you build fast boats in February and March, not in May and April. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to seeing from the team, or just a specific regatta from this?
Oh, I'm just excited to see them race. I'm excited to be like 3 seats down, 750 in, and see what they decide to do, because it's going to be so. I imagine it's going to be really different than what they've seen themselves do in the past. And that's like, I think as a coach, that's what you want. You're like, okay, we can be down and then we can get after it, and it's going to be fun. Yeah.
What kind of mindset have you seen from the team kind of going into the season, especially after the success of last season?
Hunger. I think even though last year was definitely a step in the right direction, I think getting ranked would have been really fun last year, and I think they're not gonna settle for anything like less than that. So I think, I very much feel like there's like a hunger, a determination, at times a silent determination. And so throughout the fall, we worked a lot on like, okay, like pulling them out of their shells, like talking to each other. And it's been really positive, and like practice just has a feeling of like, oh, this is like a fun place to be. And now as we get more into the nitty gritty of like, okay, getting prepared to race, and things can get a little bit scarier, and boats might not always perform at their best every single day. How do you also handle when times aren't as good? Like when things aren't going as well, how do you talk to each other in those moments? So I think hunger has been there the whole year. Persistence has been there the whole year. I think we've made huge strides in maturity. I think that's going to be kind of like, as we move forward, like, yeah, that maturity and reliability is going to be huge.
We've got time for 3 more questions before we move on to the individual segment.
Coach, I remember you saying last year about how you originally were not intending on leaving Texas until UCF approached you. Now that you were 20 weeks pregnant when you accepted the job, now that you have been here a full year, being a mom here and all this, which is a new chapter, essentially, how do you feel now, settled in now that you've been here at a full year to coach it? You feel settled in now?
I do, and it definitely feels, and I guess I wish I'd gotten here faster, but yeah, maybe with just having a newborn, but it definitely feels like my team now, and I think I underestimated how long it would really take to get to know people, and it's first time head coach. Okay, you live and you learn, and so in terms of like, even when things aren't perfect, I don't feel like I'm guessing as much as to what their reactions are going to be or how they're going to handle it. I think I feel so much more secure and like, okay, yeah, like things are going well for them. They're going to figure that out. And I know that they're going to, because that's just who they are at this point. And then in terms of like the mom side, it just, once the babies get over a year, life just like gets so much better again. So I'm in the sweet spot with the younger one that he's 1 to 2. And I think one of my assistants, he's just like a little peach. He's like the cutest thing ever. So, and that's great too. And it's nice, like, to have the flexibility. The administration is great. They always made it really clear that like my kids can be around when they need to be. So, like, I mean, the team is probably knows them a little bit. Like my 3.5-year-old, we had a team dinner with Texas combined, and my 3.5-year-old was running with like a bag around on his head, just running around. So, yeah, he's great. But just, I think, also for young women to see that like, yeah, you can be a coach and have your kids at work, and like it's not a distraction. Like it's a part of it, and we're at work so much that I wouldn't get to see my kids as much if I couldn't bring them along. So I want my assistants to know that if they ever have kids, like their kids are going to be welcome here, and that's like a part of this lifestyle. Like we can't be only parents when we're home, because we're not home probably as much as a lot of other parents get to be. So yeah. The next one. Yeah, JU, March 14th, 4 p.m. here. You're all welcome to come cover it. It would be great. Yeah, like it's always what's next. I think we're never ever going to get like too far ahead of ourselves. Like I'm honestly, what I'm most excited for right now is to practice tomorrow. Because like that's the next chance I have to help move this team forward, and that's the next opportunity they have to get better. So tomorrow is the most important day of the year, because it always is.
Last question.
Yeah.
What are any trends or routines that you or players have before races?
Well, and it was funny because Vika talked about this, Victoria Sankute, when the Olympian came and talked to us, and they asked her that same question of like, oh, do you have any pre-race rituals? And I think she gave a great answer, was essentially no, because if you get too stuck in a certain way and then something goes awry and you can't do it, then all of a sudden do you have like weird like, oh, like it's not going to be good? Versus no, you can have a great warm up and have a great piece. You can have a terrible warm up and have a great piece. We can the bus can be on time. We can get to the race exactly when we need it to be. We have our pre-race meeting. We do everything on the minute and have a great race. Or there's a traffic accident. We don't get to the race on time, or we don't get to the course on time, and so we have to shorten the warm up. We have to be a little bit race getting out there, but we'll get it all in, and attention go, we'll be ready. And the goal of practice every day, because things are always a little bit different at practice in terms of when we start the pieces, if some equipment happens, like that on a day-to-day that they practice that same sense of like, okay, I have to get to a start line, I have to get to that side of the course where for practice to start, I have to get myself warmed up so that by the time we get to racing, it should not feel that different than what we do on a day-to-day. And that's the whole idea of like tomorrow, now that practice is done, or this afternoon is the most important practice. I forgot we have land workout. They did not forget. I forgot. They have land workout. That's the most important practice. Like always for us, the most important practice is either the most important thing is either the stroke that you're on, the practice that you're in, or if you're between practices, it's the next one. And so that way when we get to race day, the most important thing is the race, but that's the same as it's always been, if that makes sense.